All right, we're going to move on. We've got one more team to cover, and that is one of my favorite teams for all the wrong reasons, the Sacramento Kings. Let's go, Sacramento. Look, I thought they were turning a quarter last year. They narrowly missed out on the playoffs. And what happened? What happened this year? They got invited to the bubble, and then, this team. So this team has not made the playoffs since 2006. And currently holds the record for the longest active streak of not making the playoffs. That was 14 years ago, Cal. 14 years ago.
I feel bad for those Sacramento Kings fans. I'm sorry, guys.
How old was I? I was 11 years old last time this team was in the playoffs. That just seems crazy to me. And this team, look, I don't think they're close. I really don't. I think they're on the downwards trend again. They peaked last year. This whole Buddy Hield situation. They've got Harrison Barnes on this contract. It comes even back to the choices they make in the draft. Marvin Bagley, you picked him over Luka Doncic. You picked him over Trae Young. All these good players that went after Marvin Bagley. What are you doing, Sacramento? I could beat up on this team so much. But look, the one bright spot they have and the one glimmer of hope that I think they do have is De'Aaron Fox. Let's talk about De'Aaron Fox. I think he is clearly the best player on this team. And if I look at this roster, probably the one bright spot that they got. What's this team doing? Where are they going from here? How do we fix the Sacramento Kings?
It's a tough bet, isn't it? Because I feel like that pick is always going to haunt them in terms of not taking Luka Doncic. That is going to absolutely... that's just the worst thing that they've ever fucking done. So I do feel really, really bad for all of those fans. Luka Doncic, it's going to haunt them for many, many years to come.
Look,
the good thing about their roster... Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say on that Marvin Bagley pick, I don't like to beat up on teams when it was let's say, for example, it was the Greg Oden and Kevin Durant thing. I don't want to beat up on Portland for taking Greg Oden over Kevin Durant because at the time it was the right choice. Injuries came into play. At the time, we didn't know Kevin Durant was going to be... We didn't know he was going to beat Kevin Durant. But it was obvious. At the time of the draft, people were saying that Luka Doncic was the best player out of Europe ever. He should have been the number one. There was lots of people lobbying for him to be number one pick. And yet, if not number one, number two. DeAndre Ayton was up there. He was at least the number two pick. And you just go and pull out Marvin Bagley. No one at the time thought Marvin Bagley was the second best player in this draft. At the time it was dumb. It's dumb now, and it's going to be even dumber in the future. I feel bad for the Kings fans out there because it's just time after time, this team just makes dumb decision after dumb decision. They can't draft well. They can't sign contracts well. They can't hire a good coach. Yeah, it's just, anyway. So How do we fix this team, Cal?
How do you fix it? You put your stock in De'Aaron Fox. I think he's got a lot of promise. I like De'Aaron. You got to re-sign him. This is the last year of his contract this season. So He's only an $8 million. Great deal. Bit of a bargain for what he's doing. I think he's one of the best players in the open court. So you kind of structure your offense purely around how he moves that way. It's weird because Walton, he slowed them down that last season, which didn't make any sense because De'Aaron Fox is so good in the open court. You have to go pace. That's going to be the best thing for De'Aaron Fox. He is your best player, so you have to just build around that. So I'd like to see that moving forward from Sacramento. There's a bit of a change in the coaching, change in how they're going to do things. That's priority number one, I think. A bit of a change of a coaching scheme because I think that was the biggest flaw for them last season. Did you agree?
Yeah. Look, everything this team doesn't make sense to me. So, the coaching decision. Look, if you go back to 1 year ago, they were a fast-paced team. You'd get up and down. Buddy Hield would be shooting a lot. De'Aaron Fox pushing the pace. Like you said, you're playing quickly, and that's the advantage of this team. And so why just change it up again? You're playing the best basketball you have in years. You're pushing to make the Western Conference Finals, which is a tough thing to do. Sorry, not finals, the playoffs. I just why change that? I don't quite understand it. Do you think that so after this season, obviously De'Aaron Fox is going to be a restricted free agent? Do you sign him to a max deal? Is he a max kind of player?
I think you do. I think you do just because he's your best player. So it's not like they get many free agents anyway. He's going to have value. Even if you re-sign him and look for a trade in the future, he's going to have value. He's so young. He's 22. And what he was doing at 22 is pretty damn fucking incredible. So you got to throw your chips in with him. They can play the time. They can play the waiting game. If it doesn't work out in, say, 3-4 years, he'll still be under contract. And you can maybe move him at the deadline then.
Yeah, look, it pains me to say this, but I don't think you do. Like, I think with this team, look, if you look at their salaries, Harrison Barnes is on the books for 3 more years at basically $20 million a year.
Yeah.
Buddy Hield's got like a ridiculous contract of $20 million a year for the next 4 years. Like, what do you do with this roster if you then go and sign De'Aaron Fox on a long-term deal for big money, like $30+ million a year? Like, it hinders your flexibility. I think, now I know the Kings fans are probably going to hate me say this, but I think you just got to go full Philadelphia 76ers on this team and just completely gut the team. It hasn't worked. This trying to sign guys and keep them around and early trades just don't rush it. What they've tried to do is they've rushed the rebuild, and it's left them in this place where they've just been like this 10th, 11th seed for 14 friggin' years. Like how long can you be this kind of average team in the NBA? And if you're not going to be able to get to that other level, like if you can't sign Giannis next year or an all-star player next year, gut it out. Go get assets. Trade someone like sign Bogdan Bogdanovic this year and then look to trade him. Like, get these assets and like, maybe trade De'Aaron Fox this year. I mean, it sounds stupid, but it sounds like really out there. But De'Aaron Fox is the only valuable asset you have on this team. I just don't know what else you can do unless
so
Marvin Bagley.
I think it's jumping the gun a bit. Personally,
you've got to do something. You've got to change it up. Like, you can't keep doing the same formula over and over and over again. It's been 14 years, Cal. Like where is that? What is that legitimately going to land this team on? If you just have Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley, and Harrison Barnes in this team, like where is that team going?
Well, I think that to answer the question is probably you keep De'Aaron, but you just trade the other guys. Like, you get rid of Buddy. I think he's got value. Looking at his contract now, the one good thing about it is, even though it does kick in next year, which is a pretty monster, it's like a $90 million deal or something, it does depreciate. So it goes from 24 mil next year.
Yeah.
And then on the last year of its contract, it actually goes down to 18 mil. So it does decrease, which is kind of, I think that's a positive kind of factor. So that's a win for them in terms of moving it. Other teams would value that. He's a 3-point threat. He can shoot over 40% from three. So that's what a lot of teams are seeking. So he'll have value. I'm not really sold on Buddy. I didn't like what I saw from him at the later stage of this season, because it was pretty obvious that Bojan Bogdanovic was a better fit. He's a better player, in my opinion. He does some of the things that Buddy does well in terms of shooting, but I just think Bojan he's this overall has a couple more elements to his offense, and a big knock against Buddy is his defense. I think Bojan puts more effort on that end, which helps the team. So I'd be throwing a bit of chips at Bojan as well. I'd re-sign Bojan, keep De'Aaron, and I'd be trying to get rid of Harrison Barnes, send him somewhere, try and get some assets back, send Buddy somewhere, try and get some assets back, and then try and build a core from that, because it's still not going to be a playoff team. So you're still going to be in the lottery. So they're still going to have picks that are on that, 10 range, 8, 9, 10. I feel like they'll be obviously fighting for that 8 seed. So it's going to be unlikely for them to get kind of like a top 3 pick, unless, it's a bit of an injury. But I mean, the way the lottery odds work this way around now that they changed it, I guess it's a bit more likely, but I think they'll be close to the 8 seed, around that kind of 10 area. So they'll have some kind of reasonable assets on that draft. So they had the timeline as well with De'Aaron at 22 to just play a bit of a waiting game.
Look, I think if you're going down that route, what you're relying on is the fact that they nail these picks, because like this team right now is not making the playoffs. The only way that this team in the next couple of years makes the playoffs and does anything with that is if they draft well and they hit on someone who can turn into like a Tyler Hero, or you get someone towards the end of the lottery that turns into like an all-star level player. And just based on the history of this team and their ability to draft, I just don't see that happening. Look, it could happen. Like we don't know. Sometimes you just get lucky and you get a player who turns into an all-star who no one, aside from the team that picked them, saw coming. So it could happen, but with this team, I'm just like not confident in their ability to draft well. So, and look, maybe Marvin Bagley, the scenario that I can see, if Marvin Bagley turns into this all-star level player and starts killing it, then I look to do that. And so that's why going into the season, look, yes, I do try and sign Bogdanovic. I try and keep as much assets as I can, see how it goes, see how these players have developed. But if it goes the way that I'm predicting it, I just don't see this team making the playoffs anytime soon. I think it's going to keep recycling. And so if they are on the same trajectory that they have been the last couple of years, I think you just try and gut this team and go full rebuild. Look, next year's draft is supposed to be pretty strong, and there's going to be an eventual point where the high school and the college players line up together, and you're going to have like what they call the double draft. So for this team, I think you want to have as much assets in those kind of drafts as possible, and see if you can increase your odds of getting a superstar level talent on this team. Because right now, I just don't see anyone who's got that level of pedigree, and it's just hard to make a move in the league without that kind of level of talent.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sorry, Kings
where do you
fans.
see them in, like, let's say 5 years time? still
know
a team that's young and terrible.
I hate to say it because I don't think they're going to do that. I probably think they will re-sign De'Aaron Fox. They probably will re-sign Marvin Bagley and give them big money, and they're probably going to be exactly where they are. Like, I'm sorry, Kings fans. Again, like I feel bad for you because this team, you don't deserve this. No one deserves a team to be this bad for this long. But there's nothing that they've shown to me that they are ever going to get out of this hole. And until they make a dramatic move or luck falls their way, whether they draft someone really, really talented, I just don't see that happening. So at this stage, I'm going to hedge my bet and say that in 5 years' time, they might be a 10th seed.
So still the exact same spot they are now.
Legit. Like there's younger teams that are going to get better faster. The Phoenix Suns, for example, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Don't see it happen really.
I'll ask a question about maybe De'Aaron Fox. Where do you see him ranking in point guards in the NBA in say like 5 years? Do you think he'll be a top 10, top 5, top 3?
He'll be top 10. He'll be top 10. I mean,
I'd argue he's top 10 now, to be honest.
Yeah, look, I haven't got my
He's
rankings
22.
in front of me. Like he's around that like 10 mark. My point is that he's not the game like his shot is suspect. He's not the best shooter in the world. Yeah, he's fast, he's quick. But what did that get the Wizards in the Eastern Conference when John Wall was fast and quick and athleticism? And I would say John Wall back in his day was better than De'Aaron Fox is now.
I'd agree.
So I would say that like play style wise are pretty comparable, and I just don't think that gets you anywhere really of value in the Western Conference, specifically when you've got so much talent in every team. So I don't know. He's a top 10 point guard, but does that move the needle enough for them to contend? No, I don't think so.
Fair enough. I think he's pretty lethal in the open court there. 48% field goal this season, 21 points. I'm putting stock in him. I think he can be a top 3 point guard, potentially. I think that's his ceiling, top 3 point guard in the NBA. And that's a good building block. You need another piece around him, though. That's the concern. They have nothing really to go with him. You got Marvin Bagley, but he's had injuries, concerns. He's still young. I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he's going to be... Just imagine what Luka Doncic would be like on this team. And that's what really him and De'Aaron...
Yeah, that'd be nuts. We'll just put
Luka getting all the attention. De'Aaron is slashing, cutting. Oh, it'd be insane. So I do feel bad for you, Sacramento guys. Just knowing what you missed out on.
We'll pull one out for you, Sacramento. I think just look over at the Knicks. Like, just keep looking at the Knicks, and maybe you'll feel a little bit better. But we might stop it there, Cal. We've sort of dragged on. Lots to talk about in this pod, but we'll catch up with you guys next time with another off-season breakdown. We've got more redraftables coming through, doing some swaps over for previous drafts, some fantasy content coming at you hard and fast with the season fast approaching. So stay tuned. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, like the video if you can. If you're watching along on Apple Podcasts, give the podcast a rating, and we really appreciate it. Alrighty, Cal, I'll catch you next time, and see you later, guys. Bye.